Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
Hi, sister. I'm doing fine. I feel like I'm much lower than you in terms of my perspective. So I'm going to stop my camera real quick just so I can get a little pillow or something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's that about.
I just realized it.
Well, folks, if you are tuned in live with us tonight, we want to welcome you to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. It's Sunday, so you know what's up. We got lots of things to talk about and share. This Yellowstone finale is coming on.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. See, I'm whoo, because I don't have too many times and places I can watch my show. But in typical Hey Sister fashion, we ask you like, follow, share, subscribe, let people know that you're tuned in live with us tonight and that we want them to join the conversation in the comments with you. And as always, you can go to our website, subscribe to our web page, never miss an episode, check out our merch, and hey, continue to support us and help us grow Hey Sister. Okay, now what you doing with the lights, girl? You flickering and doing all kind of
I'm
stuff.
just trying to find what works
What you doing, girl?
because I feel like I'm looking really pale. So
Okay. All right. Well,
we
she
don't
look like
have
a
any production assistants and we don't have, this is a homegrown situation, so I got to do it myself.
Yes, definitely for sure. Okay, I gotta turn this. Oh, so I gotta mute this because
So is the finale on like right now?
it is. That's why I'm muting the TV. It's on
Oh,
right now, and
oh,
I'm in a space where I can actually see the finale. So I gotta act right because we gonna be.
wait, is the finale on right now?
Uh huh.
So how you gonna see it if we talking?
Because out of the peripheral vision is right there.
So you're not gonna be really paying attention this one.
Why is she messing with me, y'all?
I'm just
If
trying to
y'all
make
are a fan of Yellowstone like me, drop a Yellowstone in the comments or something.
exactly. I know how much you really like Yellowstone. All right, well let's jump right in. So listen, we can wrap this up quicker tonight. I'm all for us having all the conversation. I don't see our super fan. She usually say, "Hey sister," by now. Hey sisters by now. Hey,
Yeah,
but gotta love the multitasking. Yes,
yeah.
just multitask. Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Multitasking only means one thing. You're not giving 100% to anything.
And let me tell you something. So, Jody Joe, I saw your post, girl. Basically, I'm just gonna say it like this: don't run up on Jody and Bentley out there in them streets. That's all I'm gonna say. Nah. And if you don't know who Bentley is her little puppy. And don't have your big puppies trying to run up on Jody and Bentley. That's all I'm gonna say. Because Jody
Under
and Bentley is gonna win. That's the one I'm talking about. Jody and Bentley gonna win. You will not.
well, all right then.
Oh, okay, sister. Well, last week, everybody, we were traveling. Sister was traveling back. We were in Louisiana for another momentous occasion in our family's experience. We posted it on our Hey Sister page so you could take a look at it. But there was a bust unveiled at Nicholls State University in the Stouffer Gymnasium atrium area, and it is a bust of our father. He was the first Black athlete. He integrated athletics at Nicholls State University. And we spent many years as young children going to basketball games when he was assistant coaching there. And to see where the bust is placed, and then right around the corner, there's a picture of him when he was playing. Also, there's the Hall of Fame honorees that are named in the kind of when you general admission for tickets when you walk in. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just super excited that Not only about the bust and it being unveiled, but that it looks like him. Because as my friend commented, they should have hired him to do the D Wade bust. or but the artist did a phenomenal job. So shout out to the pops.
Yes. Shout out. Well, I don't know what happened to the microphone all of a sudden, but shout out to our dad. Yes, great stuff. Very proud of him. Very proud of Nicholls State University for wanting to do these things. Listen, you know, obviously we live in a time where it is okay to not be on the right side of history. And so I think it's awesome that they are making what I believe to be concerted efforts to be on the right side of history and to do the right things. And not just because he's my father. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I also know that, you know, last year they honored their first African-American students to be admitted to the university. And that happened in 1963. And it wasn't that long ago. And so again, when we have these conversations about civil rights and what it means to actually have our rights taken from us, a lot of these rights just became rights for some of us very, very short periods of time ago. So they can easily be taken away if we're not careful. And so I appreciate that. His alma mater is stepping up and doing those things and trying to, and while he is alive, that was one of the things that made such a huge difference to me, to see a bust with a start date, if you will, not an end date. So I'm happy that he's able to see it, even though he doesn't understand what the big deal is, even though he didn't set out to be blah, blah, blah. He didn't set out to make, you know, accomplish these things. He has, and it's well earned and well deserved. And so thank you to everybody who participated, everybody who made it happen, and everybody who had such positive things to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess a good transition to this next topic it's really about appreciation, you know, and appreciation of life, the opportunity to live life fully, and the opportunity to share your gifts, right? And so this week, Netflix dropped the Jamie Foxx special, What Had Happened Was. How many of you out there, if you're watching live, drop it in a comment that yes, you have watched it, or no, you haven't watched it. And let us see where you are. My sister and I both watched it, and I watched it and I told her you have to watch it. So, sister, what were your first impressions?
My first impression was, I guess I didn't know that it was a comedy show, so to speak, because it really wasn't a comedy show. Right. But I didn't know that it was supposed to be a comedy show. I don't know, for whatever reason, I thought there was a documentary or a docuseries that came out. I didn't know it was going to be structured in this way. But you know, immediately, just like you said, appreciate the fact that here's someone who is who's been through a lot, and who I think has had a revelation as a result of the things that he's been through, or had a few revelations as a result of the things he's been through, and wanted to come out and show his appreciation for not only still being here, but making sure people understand that he doesn't even really fully grasp what happened. What had happened was, I don't know what happened, basically.
Right.
But I thought it was interesting. It was almost in the sense, and I know this is going to sound weird, but in the sense of a variety show, because I'm like, it was a sermon, it was a comedy special, it was a concert, it was it was an award show. I mean, in terms of, acknowledging all the things that he's done, or many of the things that he's done in the entertainment business. And so it was not at all what I anticipated. Let's put it like that. That was probably my first thoughts.
Yeah. So I had to go ahead and watch it because I was like, okay, my social media is not gonna hold with people talking about what had happened was. So I was like, let me watch this before somebody spoils it for me. And I'm gonna do my best not to spoil it for anybody. But I don't even know if I can, because I think whenever you watch it, and I know Jody says she hasn't watched yet, or whoever else, if you're watching, if you haven't watched it yet, when you do, I would just say have your heart and your mind open. And if your heart and mind are open, it is going to touch you the way it needs to touch you, because it is very touching. It is very it's fraught with many emotions. It's truly an emotional roller coaster, and that makes sense that it would be an emotional roller coaster, because we all knew he was out for a minute. And and his family did a remarkable job holding him down, ensuring that there was no paparazzi, and no, whenever anything would come out or kind of leak out, baby, his daughter, and they shut it down, and they really kept and preserved his privacy. And so for him to come out and be so transparent and so honest, and so human, I think it's an example to all of us about A, we don't go through this life alone, right? B, even when we think we somebody, somebody else, God will let you know, go ahead on and sit down, because I need you to sit down for a minute.
Right.
So, and how you come out of that, to me, that's the testament of how you choose to come out of that. And he did it with humor, he did it with humility, he did it with vulnerability, and still, I think there's more to come. But the key takeaway from me is, because he said something that, if you go back and listen to old interviews of Sharon Stone, because Sharon Stone had an aneurysm, and it was like 3 days before, like, somebody came to her house and got her, because it was just, she was going in and out of consciousness. But one of the things she said, and something that he iterated, if you have the worst headache of your life, go to the ER. Period, point blank. Because as he said, he couldn't even get to the aspirin, right? If you have the worst headache of your life, and that's what Sharon Stone shared, like, it was like the worst headache of my life, and then it just kept getting worse. And of course, luckily she survived as well. And of course, in his situation, they never used the term aneurysm, they said brain bleed. But nonetheless, if you have the worst headache of your life, go get checked. And it hurts nothing and no one to seek help in that situation. It's better to be safe than sorry. So that's one of my key takeaways.
Absolutely. One of my key takeaways, and this show is called Hey Sister, and I think we have been blessed to know a lot of sisters in many different ways, both biological and non-biological. And so for me, it literally made, when he talks about his sister, right? So he had a sister who passed away, was I think she had Down syndrome, if I remember correctly. But when he talks about his sister and how she stepped in the gap on his behalf, it certainly made me think about my relationship with my sister and how fortunate I am to have it, because I know that, I mean, number one, I've seen you in action. We just were at home and I've seen you in action. So if I know, and I don't know if Jessica's still on, but she and I have had conversations about seeing her sister in action. And so I just know that if it ever came down to it and I needed somebody to step in the gap on my behalf like that, I feel really good that I have a sister that I believe would do that for me. So so that was a very, very powerful and wonderful point. And I think overall the key lessons, after I turned it off, you know, I'm not gonna lie, and I had some tears after I turned it off, because it was a reminder to me that, again, things can be much worse than they appear. Things can get really bad and really dark, and for a lot of us. And so, but you know, we've talked about this many times. Folks always talk about the devil is busy, the devil, the devil, the devil. I don't see the devil as this horned guy or thing, entity. More often than not, the devil that I find myself fighting is the one in my own mind. Right? And it's the one that says you're not good enough. It's the one that says you're not gonna make it. It's the one that's constantly trying to put doubt in my mind, or procrastination in my spirit, or you know, suggest that I know you think God got a bigger plan for you, but God don't have a bigger plan for you, because there is no other plan. This is just it. And I think seeing shows like this, and you know, you got to turn that off. But seeing shows like this is, thank God for the confirmation. We talked about confirmation earlier today. Thank God for the confirmation that, honey, God has a bigger plan. You may not see it all. And even when he talks about how this thing, this medical emergency that he went through, this losing 20 days.
Mystery illness.
Right. The mystery illness. Even when he talks about that, to come out of it and be able to say, but I know that was a blessing too. I know that was a part of God's plan, because it also reminded him of who he was, reminded him of the things that he had done because of God. And so then I would say the last thing is, you know, our healthcare system in this country is garbage. And so and
right.
And it's you know, he talks about that too. One of his first doctor. And child, if he had put that man's name out there, that man would be out of business tomorrow. But
not only would he be out of business, the institution that he works at would shut down, I'm sure.
Yes. But it was amazing it's a beautiful thing when you find somebody who does care. But it's a terrible thing when you don't have the money, the resources, when you don't have it. It's a terrible thing when you don't have it. So yeah, I'm waiting for everybody else to see it.
But the lesson also is that it doesn't matter, because even if you do have that, if you don't have the right advocates.
Yes.
Because see, that's what happened. His sister was like, no, I'm not going to take this. I'm not just going to listen to you. We gone. I'm taking my brother and I'm going somewhere else, because this is not right. So that was that fighter for you. You know, when Serena Williams was in the hospital and the people wasn't listening to her, she had to fight and advocate for herself. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You can have all the resources. If you are in a system that doesn't see you or doesn't listen to you, you could easily lose your life. Easily lose your life. We got a couple comments. Jessica said, that was the one for me, knowing that you have folks who are ready to ride. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The devil in my mind was an entire word. Come on, sister. You spoke a whole word to a sister tonight. How about that?
Well, I hope everybody gets a, what'd you say?
I said, but that ain't never that's powerful truth right there. It's a powerful truth. But
It is.
That when he had that conversation, and again, it's his conversation with God, that back and forth conversation with God, that's the type of relationship and conversation if you believe, then that's the kind of conversation you can be able to talk to God any kind of way and have that conversation. But honey, when he said, well, why me? And God was like, oh, they got all these other people out here. And he said, oh, they for somebody else. You're mine. I was like, baby, you better preach on that.
And then when he said, what about my children?
Uh-huh.
And then and God said, well, what did they do to my child?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that part. But and so this is a bit of a segue also. So we talked a little, we also watched Miss Pat on Club Shay Shay with, Shannon Sharp, Miss Pat, the comedian, and just talking about having real life conversations with God. I think that, and people are entitled to believe whatever they want to believe. I happen to believe though in God, and believe that I want to get to that place for sure. Because sometimes I feel like we are so structured in our conversations with God. We say our prayers, we recite them precisely. We're looking for the right words. More often than not, my brain has gone off to something else by the time I'm finished, But looking at Miss Pat on Club Shay Shay, and she was talking also about her abuse and being in relationship, not really relationship, because let's call it what it is. Your children's father was an abuser of all the sorts. And like she said, for him not to be in jail, make it make sense. Because she basically said she got pregnant at 13. She had her baby at 14. He was 21 at the time? Something to that effect.
Yeah, I thought it was 22.
22? Okay. Something to that effect. Yeah. She's talking about the level of abuse that they had between each other. And then finally having that conversation with God, because she had been made to believe that if you ain't getting your butt kicked, that ain't love, right? That's how she grew up, with a mother who she says was abusive. Obviously, her mother's not here to defend herself, but a mother she said was abusive, a mother who she said allowed abuse to happen to them at the hands of boyfriends, other men, etc. And then, yes, and that her abuser had done it to other people as well. And that she went to court and still, to speak about it, but nonetheless. And then she said, and now his claim to fame is that she's his baby mama. That's crazy too. But when she said she had to have that conversation with God, like, I don't want to live like this no more. So I don't know why I keep going back to this relationship, but please take it all away from me. And she said she met her husband the next day she was done. And then she met her husband that same week, and she'd been married for 30-some years.
Yep.
So I'm like, yeah, Jamie made a lot of jokes about his conversation with God. But I was like, yeah, I got to get to that point. I got to have them kind of conversation. Real talk. I don't need a burning bush, but I need to have them conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We had a comment here. We saw that, and her abuser did it to other people, and that thing was really striking too, because she was like recently she was in court testifying on someone else's behalf, and he still is not in jail. The court systems fail so many women who are abused. It takes God to intervene. Yeah. And that, yeah, man, listen. Those, it's a powerful, both of them have very powerful stories.
Mhm.
So if you have Netflix, go watch What Had Happened Was. If you got somebody Netflix password, go watch what happened was. I know y'all ain't supposed to be sharing the password, but
Netflix better stop playing as much as they done increased these prices, and they have
first of all, Netflix better stop playing, because everywhere you go now, if you travel to a hotel or whatever, you log in to another thing, and if you forget to log yourself out, what happens? Somebody's gonna be watching on your login until they figure it out, right? Till it automatically logs them out. These are things that just happen.
right.
But speaking of these stories, these kind of real stories, we also watched Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. And if you all, depending on what age you are, you may or may not remember Superman. The original Superman actor, Mr. Christopher Reeve, from the late 70s, early 80s. That franchise. His son is now on GMA, Good Morning America, Will Reeve. We see Will a lot. And this too was a story um, of, to me, of the greatness of God, but the greatness of the capacity of love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think in Jamie Foxx's his special as well, the capacity of love, like of unconditional love and what it can do. Um, and so, you know, Christopher Reeve was a very active, very involved man, and had a horse riding accident that left him paralyzed from like the shoulders down. And um you know, seeing the stories from the friends, like the Glenn Closes, like the Jeff Daniels, like the Whoopi Goldberg, was very powerful. But most importantly, hearing from the siblings who you don't see on TV, who aren't on TV every day, the children, because his wife Dana also passed away about 18 months
Yeah. And I
after.
don't think that I realized that until I watched this.
Yes, so Dana passed away as well. Had never smoked or what have you, and had lung cancer. And it was like she died very soon after he transitioned. And it was just, but it was amazing in the 10 years that he lived with his paralysis, because I would say he lived with his paralysis. He was fighting every day to try to get any movement back, and he was getting movement. Um, and because of all the work that they did with their foundation, someone today, chances of living well with paralysis is so much better, or
Yeah.
even regaining some of their mobility and some of their function, because of the testing that they do now, or they champion. It's amazing. It was an amazing story. I don't know, what were your thoughts when you watched it?
It was a great story. So I had a few thoughts. The first thing is, I'm gonna just go ahead and be political. We cannot let people who are deniers of science turn back the hands of time. We can't. At the end of the day, there's a lot of stem cell work that has been done, but a lot of it was done because this thing happened to Christopher Reeve. And you know, I do believe, and we're seeing, and it's crazy because this guy that is about to occupy the White House again, he has this other guy creating positions for this other guy who created this chip to go in people's brain and stuff. Now I don't trust him in the chip making because I don't trust his cars. So I don't trust, but I know that there are very smart people who work for his companies. And so but you know, it's like you can't believe in science when it comes to an electronic car, but don't believe in science when it comes to somebody's reversing paralysis or polio or things of that nature. So the number one thing I would say is that their foundation is not, it used to be the Christopher Reeve Foundation, then it became Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, and they are still doing work. And I think that it's important for that kind of scientific research to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing I'll say. The second thing, like you said, about the capacity of love. So I just put it together, right? a few days ago, Will Reeve is Christopher Reeve's son. And of course, he looks like his father. So I'm not really sure why that took so long for me to put together. It did. But to think that he was just a baby. So for most of the time that he had his father, he only saw him in paralysis.
Yeah.
And
he
so
was 3, I think, when the
accident happened. Right. The one, listen, when he said his mother passed away, well, when they said his mother passed away 18 months after Christopher passed away, and his brother stated, you know, Will lost his mother, his grandmother, and his father in a span of 18 months. Honey, that got me.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said, you know, he gave love to his adopted parents, love to all the people, but he said he's been alone since then. I was like, oh my gosh, that hit me really hard.
Yeah.
It hit me really hard because I thought about it and I'm like, here's this young man who is making a name for himself, who is, you know, probably doing a lot of great things. And I think about the stories that he has to tell on GMA. Like one I saw the other day, I'm like, he has to tell these stories about dads and their kids and being it. And he's like, his dad never could throw a football to him. He never had those kind of opportunities.
He had them, and he does not remember them.
Right.
He has the video, and that was the beauty, that they had so much video evidence.
Right. But this accident happened when he was 3. So he didn't have very much of it.
No.
And so to think that he has to tell these stories, but I'm like, man, what it makes you just wonder, like, how do these things work out in the end? Because again, if you believe in divinity, if you believe in God, you trust that there's a plan and you trust that the plan is bigger than what you understand. But then when you start putting the pieces together, it's like, wow, why would he have had to lose 3 of the most pivotal people in his life in an 18-month span? That feels like a lot.
Yeah.
So it was a great story. He was
all of 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like you said, the capacity of love. His mother clearly loved his father very deeply, and in a way that makes you, because, you know, I felt very sad for his siblings' mother, because clearly she probably felt a little bit like, I didn't do anything to deserve not being his.
Right.
But clearly he met Dana and he loved something about her that was unspeakable, and she loved something about him that went so much further than just the physical.
Yeah.
And so that was important. The last thing I say is, you know what? Sometimes I be wanting to do, but we must have some really good parents. That's why we not exactly where we want to be. Because these folks with these messed up parents be out here striving for greatness. I said, what? This man got the role of Superman, and his daddy thought he had some, I can't remember the play, The Man and the Superman or something like that. some intellectual play. He just thought his son had landed, which, by the way, I did not know that he was a Broadway actor, right? So I only know him from Superman, really. And so I didn't know he had this theater background. His daddy out there like, oh, my son, I'm going to pop some bottles with my son because he's got this great play that he's doing. And to find out that it was the Superman and to be upset. I say, Lord, I need some folks to rewind on their parents, and I need you to go back to parent school or something, child. It's not like that Reeve family is a special group, though.
Like he said, that Reeve part was rough. Franklin, he said Franklin was something. So yes. Oh, I don't know. Like I said, if you get a chance to watch it, I would say watch it. I think you will be just again reaffirmed or affirmed in about the capacity of the human spirit and the capacity of love. Like really, love can shift everything. It really can.
I forgot about that commercial too. I had forgotten about all the backlash he got for that commercial.
Yeah.
When he was walking the commercial. I said, you know what? We will get outraged on some of the craziest stuff, but the stuff we need to be over here outraged about, we let slide right on by. I don't get it.
Well, it's the what was Chris Rock's special? Selective outrage. Yeah, it's all about the selective outrage because his desire was different from other people's, and you want to bemoan him for that because he had he wanted to get back to that life, and that was something that drove him. Great, whatever you can find to hold on to it. But people are funny like that, child. People is funny like that.
They are. Okay, what else you got, sister?
Well, earlier both those two stories, very much a healthcare story. So we got to talk about this Luigi Mangione, who is the accused killer of the United Healthcare CEO. We haven't talked a lot about this, about his manifesto and about his issues with the healthcare system and so on and so forth. Him being arrested and what have you. It is very interesting to me. Because one of the things we've talked about was radicalization of people. And it's very interesting to me how this young man of such privilege, because see, they were waiting for the story to be something else. But this young man of privilege, of high education, to take upon this cause, right, for lack of a better term, and act in the way that he acted. Now, some people out there saying like Jamie Foxx is a clone, that this is a clone, this ain't the real person who did the shooting. Because they don't look like him. Look at the first picture. Look at this. People are back and forth and what have you.
Oh, I ain't gonna lie. When I saw the two pictures before they arrested old boy, I was like, that didn't look like the same person because I thought the second picture was a woman, quite frankly. That's what it looked like to me. But Luigi might got some feminine features depending on, what angle he hit
from. People were talking about the unibrow, the first person in having unibrow. I was like, what you talking about? Y'all was looking like that? I don't know. Listen, I think this case is going to highlight, as we said, whenever there is a profit motive in a system, it becomes corrupt very easily. And our healthcare system has a profit motive. Therefore, it is not always delivering healthcare, but it's delivering dividends for its stockholders. And that's what it is. And that's something that we have to grapple with as we try to care for ourselves, as we try to live well and be well, as I'm eating my spinach and kale salad here with the dried cranberries and my balsamic vinaigrette.
No,
Even though even though I would love to be eating something else. You know what I mean? We got to do whatever we can do to care for ourselves, because this system, if you are like a Jamie Foxx and you end up at the wrong place the first time, you may or may not make it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are like Christopher Reeve and you are not in a place where people really believe in recovery or treatment, you wouldn't even be able to gain the quality of life that you were able to gain back and have it for that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And this system is broken. This young man is calling that out. And people are questioning, like, oh, well, what happened to us? Because there's no outrage over this murder. The response is not what people thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've seen many, not many. I've seen a few politicians get up on various platforms to say that this young man should not be lauded in any way, shape, or form. And I agree with that. It is not right to just murder somebody in cold blood, right?
No, because he left some children without a father.
He left some children without a father. I'm sure a wife
without a husband.
Maybe some parents without a child. It is not right to do that. So there are two separate things, though, that we need to discuss here. And if this situation gets us talking about one of those things, or both of those things, right? This situation gets us talking about injustice. How you don't take somebody's life in broad daylight because you don't agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
If we have that conversation, then might I add to all the supporters of certain people, you can't just take out your anger on people you don't agree with, mm-hmm. or who you don't like how they move or shake or operate, whatever. You just can't just physically take out your anger and be violent towards it. So that needs to be absolutely discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And stop politicizing it. Stop making it like, oh, he was a left-wing nut, or he was this. No, because all the stuff that you try to categorize him as, he is not. He came from a prominent family. His grandfather is a self-made millionaire. I think they said at one of the universities down there in Maryland, they sponsored an aquatic center. Their name is, I wonder if the people are going to take their name off, because, we do stuff like that against selective outrage. Mm-hmm. Other issue that needs to be addressed is we do have a healthcare system that is for profit. And that is a problem. We should not be benefiting off of people's sicknesses. I love and respect all my doctor, nurse friends, but their motive should be to be putting themselves out of business. Like, we should want, like when I used to work at the cancer center, our goal here should be to put ourselves out of business. We don't want to have a cancer center. We want to find a cure for cancer, right? Mm-hmm. So to your point, there is a profit motive behind our healthcare system. It is not about wellness. It is not about well-being. In a lot of ways, we want people to be sick in this country.
And so then this goes to there. And so this is where that whole nuance comes in, because you're talking about, this is an insurance executive.
Right.
And a contract, years and years ago, it was a fee for service type of situation. You went for your doctor, you paid them a price, they saw you, whatever, and it was that type of model that happened. Um, I remember being in grad school and them talking about the movement towards the HMO and what it was supposed to do and these concepts. And those things just they're not fully realized because it's really the contract is between the doctor and the insurance company and between the patient and the insurance company. The insurance company is the middle person that's negotiating with both parties on either end about your health care. That's why your doctor only can prescribe certain medications for you, because they're trying to follow what's within your plan and this, that, and the third. So it's that middle plan is that insurance. We have allowed insurance to be the predominant factor in the delivery or non-delivery of healthcare. And that has pushed us further and further away between the relationship between the patient and the doctor. And that's what this young man was balking against.
Allegedly balking at.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and I say allegedly balking at because here's what I think is going to happen. This is just Christina. She could be completely wrong. I'm willing to say if I'm wrong. What I think is going to happen is at some point he is going to plead guilty by reasons of insanity, that he will talk about this. I guess supposedly that he had this really bad chronic back pain. They will talk about this back pain. There is going to be a tie to some drugs being taken. And I feel like it's going to ultimately fall into this category of, I did not know what I was doing. I was, in so much pain, or I had taken so many drugs or what have you. And I feel like that ultimately, because again, boys like this don't go to jail, right? Because the fact that people were acting like they was. So now let me just say this. I did not hear, I know the folks was outraged talking about the folks had said that it was a light-skinned man. I did not hear light-skinned. I heard white-skinned. And I know that's a weird statement. I think it sounded like the person who was speaking maybe had an accent. So that was probably his way of saying that the person had white skin, but it's not a term. It's not how we normally phrase. But I did not hear light skin. I heard white skin, but nonetheless, boys like this, the valedictorian from high school, the Ivy League educated, the wealthy family, they don't do things like this. I guess unless you're the Menendez brothers, and then you do. But then now you don't anymore, because now you had a reason to have done it in the first place, right? They try to get them. So I just feel like it's ultimately going to fall into some category of he didn't know what he was doing. He's only 26 years old. He was in so much pain, blah, blah, blah.
Interesting. That's an interesting take. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we know that another killer got away with what I think was at the very least in involuntary manslaughter on the subway killing Daniel Penny, who then was I guess a guest at a football game yesterday, Army Navy football game. He's
also been lauded as a hero. See, that's what I'm saying. Like you don't want to laud this guy as a hero. You say it's wrong to laud him as a hero for killing a healthcare executive, because murdering somebody is wrong. But it's okay to laud this guy because he killed a homeless person.
Right.
Like, no, it's not okay to laud anybody for murdering anybody.
Mhm.
Now, again, there's a differentiation between murdering someone and killing someone. If you are being attacked, I'm not going to tell you not to kill somebody if that's what is deemed necessary at the time for protecting yourself or your family or what have you.
Well, that gentleman said he was protecting the other riders.
Yeah. So I think that if you knew enough to know how to put somebody in a chokehold to the point to kill them, then you knew it's like when they tell you how long you gotta be out without air before you
Expire.
expire, right? I'm sure somebody told you this number somewhere along the line. Now, I'm not saying you were sitting there watching your stopwatch, but you could have stopped.
Well, since the man hadn't attacked anyone or hadn't done anything, I mean, he might have been acting erratically, which many people do. Many people who might be unhoused or people who are having mental health breaks, anything like that. But that don't mean it deserves to die at your hands. But that's just me talking.
Right. No, you and from what I understand, the man was saying he was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes me question why we can't give people food before we think of killing them or putting them in the chokehold.
Oh.
And the other people who helped, they don't get off the hook either.
Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion, but we saw it.
He's being lauded as a hero in a way that I think is sick. You know, but Kyle Rittenhouse was lauded as a hero by some. And that's where I have to say, y'all gonna have to decide. Either you ain't supposed to murder people, or basically what it seems like you're saying, well, it depends on the person you murder. That's what it feels like you're saying. And in y'all, and in some folks' mind, it's egregious for an Ivy Leaguer to kill a CEO, but it's not for a teenager to go in the middle of the street and just shoot at people. Or it's not for Daniel Penny to choke the life out of a unhoused person.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like the rules vary. So
the rules vary, honey. They always do. Well, our last, certainly not least, we'll leave on a little bit of a high note. We want to shout out to one Mr. Travis Hunter, who just won the Heisman. So congratulations, Travis. I remember when he did the announcement and said he was going to Jackson State, how all the pundits said how he was ruining his life, ruining his career. How dare he go to that HBCU? How dare he, right? I remember that day very well. So, you know, love him or hate him, whatever you might feel about him, but Deion Sanders had that vision, and he got him there. Him and his sons got Travis to join their party, and then they transitioned on to Colorado, and the rest, as they say, is history. And he made history in this journey, and I want to congratulate him for making that history and for doing it in a way that people said it shouldn't be or couldn't be done. But when you have the talent, to me, it's just a testament. When you have the talent will speak. And he's talented because he's one of the few who play offense and defense.
He is, and I really listen. So congratulations. I wish him the very best in this aspect of his life and moving forward. Just as an institution, I'm a little bit disturbed by him playing offense and defense and us extending seasons and things of that nature.
Oh yeah,
That's
'cause
just
it
Christina's perspective.
ain't gonna be no health. Yeah.
And so, yes, and so again, we must hope that if there is any future need for healthcare, that he does make the type of money he needs and has this type of resources. Because until we fix this broken healthcare system, you gotta pay to play. So, congratulations, Heisman Trophy winner.
Congratulations. Woo, woo, woo. Well, that's all we got tonight.
Yes,
Because I ain't got nothing else.
and you about to fall asleep in 5.
Girl, I've been traveling again. So y'all can see the background. Y'all know this ain't my normal backdrop. So yes, I'm traveling again. And so yeah, I need to go and catch my rest.
Yes. So with that, have a good night, everybody. Thank y'all for joining us.
Bye-bye.